Hey everybody, I just thought I'd do a little drawing video. I haven't drawn in a long time on a regular basis anyway, so I'm just going to do kind of a quick drawing of Venom. You guys probably know about the movie coming out and all that, so I just figured I would do him as a practice and video. I haven't been drawing a lot because of the financial burden that art has brought upon me, you know, which is sad to say, but it's just what it is. So I figured he's a black and white character with a red tongue, and I could just skip over doing the red tongue. Back in the day, Venom was the villain in Spider-Man, or one of the villains I should say, and he did not have the crazy tongue that people give him today. And I don't know when that started. I know it's been a long time. I don't know if it started in a comic or on a cartoon or what, but I've always hated it ever since I saw it because it just looks ridiculous. And Venom to me was always just badass, and then they gave him this tongue, and it just made him silly to me. And so I don't know. I could never really take the character seriously after seeing that. And I don't know who's responsible. I don't know if that's was an artist that decided that. Hell, it could have been McFarlane that decided it. I don't know. But the issue, I mean, the issues that I had of him originally were the Amazing Spider-Man. See how his face is. He's got the long face and the big mouth, but the tongue isn't flying all over the place ridiculous. So, and that was back in like Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, like 298, 99, 300, and then I think like 315, 16, and 17 or something like that. I may be wrong on those numbers, but you know, he originally did not have the craziness of that tongue, and it always bothered me. I don't know why. It existed, and I don't. If I ever draw Venom, I don't like give him the ridiculous tongue. Or when I was drawing a lot, I'll give him a little bit of it, you know, but I'm not gonna make it where it's sticking out bigger than his head, you know. I'll do like I'm doing right here. If you know, hopefully the video is picking it up. You know, I'll do that, and it's, you know, give it a little bit, but not gonna go crazy with it, because I don't believe it needs to be. And then, you know, he was always just an awesome bad guy, and then I feel like that ruined him when they did that. But you know, people that run the comic companies, you know, they do what they got to do to make money, I guess. And if a crazy tongue makes you money, and putting them in 1,000,000 comics at one time makes you money, go for it. I wish I could do it. I don't know if y'all can hear my dog's collar jingling, but she's going nuts right now. I guess it thundered outside or something. And she's probably going to tear the house up. So, you know, got to do what she's got to do. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of color, so that's why I wanted to do black and white character. So I'm not going to even color in his tongue. I'm just going to do a black and white. And this is not a good marker for that. Most of my markers are dried up too, but we'll see. Yeah, this one works. Okay, it's a thinner line, so I should have done that from the beginning. My plan was to try to get back into drawing this year, and it's been a slow process. You know, I wanted to do comics again, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. It's so time consuming, and it's a hard thing to do a whole comic and and not get much back out of it. I hate to say that, because a lot of people are like, oh, you just need to do art for art's sake, and but I live in the real world, and if I'm gonna spend every night of every day, after coming home from work all day to do a comic, I need to make something back out of it. And that's just the reality of the world these days. And I know a lot of people don't like the way I draw, and that's fine. That's cool, but I need enough people to like what I do to support it, and that's hard to do. So anyway, I'm just going to draw Venom, and hopefully everybody will say, oh, that's great, draw comics again, we'll support you. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not in it for the fame, but I would be in it for $10. Okay. The problem with Venom is he's all black, and I don't know if I have any way to highlight anything here except for with white. So I guess we would do like that. I don't remember how his... I know he's got the big spider on his chest, sort of. And I don't know if we can really draw that, but we'll just give him some little hint of it. I think it was like the big something. I don't know. Got some shoulder over there. Kind of mess going on. He was, one of the favorite bad guys, and I know it's weird because Venom brought a lot of people into comics, as far as people who wouldn't normally read them. I think he appeals to a different kind of crowd. Like, I know people who, they don't read comics at all, but they know who Venom is, and they love Venom, and they want Venom t-shirts and posters and whatever. But he's not. They're not comic book fans. Like, as far as, hey, I got to get my comics every week or whatever, or every month, however people do it these days. They just love the character, and they love the Carnage too, which is another symbiote type character. I don't know. I don't know what the appeal of it is, but it's good for for comics that people know who he is. I'm sure the movie is going to do really well just based on that, because people are going to go see that because they know who Venom is, and I know he was in that last, I think it was Spider-Man 3, and nobody cared about that. And I don't know if the new movie is going to be any good either, but I bet it does well at the theater. I just hope that the tongue isn't ridiculous. I hate that thing, guys. It's always weird making a video when you're talking to yourself, because you just start rambling about stuff, and I don't know if anybody's listening or will be listening. I know they're not listening now because I'm the only one here. But coloring in is boring. If I was on the computer, this would have took 2 seconds to color the entire face of this guy. But we still got a few minutes here, so I can... And I know people aren't going to want to watch this whole video if it's like 20 minutes long, but, do what you got to do. If you're bored, watch it. If not, don't watch it. I wish I had a thicker marker that I could cover more ground with, but I don't. uh, I know part of the thing about the way I draw is I simplify things. I don't put tons of details, and some people consider that like not as good as other people, but I don't know, man. I like all kinds of art, and I look at art basically every day, and just because you overcomplicate things with a lot of lines and different things, that doesn't make it any better than anybody else. You know, it's real weird, and I don't like the internet is a weird place because everybody's got an opinion and they give it, and you know maybe they have a right to do so, but it's like people like certain artists and then nothing else is acceptable to them. And for me it's like, you know, I like people that are super detailed and super realistic, but then I like people that are just completely simplified and you know barely any lines that make up, you know, their characters and or whatever they're drawing. It's I don't know, how you can like be stuck in one thing. And it's the same way with music and things like that. People get into like, oh well, I only like, you know, a certain kind of heavy metal or something. Well, okay, but why can't you like anything else? Is nobody's gonna judge you. Well, they might judge you, but if you're anything like me, you just like, okay, whatever. You don't like this, that's your loss, you know. So anyway, I just kind of try to not talk bad about people, even though, you know, they do it about others and some do it about me, and I don't really care. But anyway, so my drawing is never going to be super detailed. It just not what I do, and you know, it's very cartoony, and I really get aggravated when people like want me to draw them, like themselves or their kids or something, because I know I'm not drawing photorealistic kind of stuff, and I feel like that's what they want most of the time. So I try not to encourage that, because people like if I say, oh, I'm gonna be doing commissions or whatever, I guarantee 3 of the 4 people that contact me will want a picture of their child or something, and it's like that's not really what I do, but you know I try to do it for them, and which I haven't really done a lot of that in a while because you know, like I said, it wasn't paying off for me enough to sustain it. But I might start doing it again in the future. But I really don't want to draw people's people. I'd rather just draw made up things, because that's when I feel like I've got control of. That's my dog. You hear her? She's upset. Probably because I'm talking to this camera and not her. Because I haven't heard any thunder or anything. But you know, it's. I don't want to draw things that really exist, I guess, because I find that for myself that's a weak point, and I can admit that because I know what people look like, and I know I don't draw them that way, and so I try to do things that I can make up or are fictional or whatever, that that I can kind of create it the way I see it in my brain, I guess. And then it's something. It is something, you know, to me. And if I'm trying to copy something, it doesn't work for me. I'm not the kind of person that can sit there and draw somebody else's picture exactly the way it was. I never could do that. I used to try when I was a kid. I remember that we had this, I had this notebook, and it was a van, and it had Snoopy, or Joe Cool Snoopy, on it. And I would sit there and trace that thing over and over again. I had probably hundreds of them. And I would trace it, and then I would try to draw it myself, and I could never get it to look anything like it. The tracings looked good because they were tracings of it, but I could never get the it to look like it did when I drew it freehand. And that was when I was young. I mean, I was probably like 11 or 12 or something. I don't know whatever happened to any of those. It was long before digital cameras and scanners and all that other good stuff. But the thing, so it always kind of stuck with me that if I'm drawing something that I'm not creating myself, it doesn't look right to me. It never, I don't know. So I do this kind of stuff, like Venom. And I mean, this is very simple Venom right here. This is not going into. I mean, I usually can do a little more detail than this, but he, like I said, he's a black suited character, so he's not good for much else besides the black and white. But I just felt like drawing something, and why not video it, I don't have too many markers left. But, if things go right, in the near future, my art funding, I should say, may get a little better. And because I need to buy a lot of markers and marker refills, and that's really what's delaying me. Because, I mean, the Sharpie markers don't cost anything. They're cheap enough. But I'm hoping by summertime, if things go well, which I'm having some issues with my car right now, so we don't know. But if things go right, I may be drawing again more regularly. I don't know if I'm going to do the comic again. I used to do Strange City Heroes. And I look back on that, and, I can see how bad things were, but then I see things in it that were like, wait, that was pretty good, But I was doing everything. I was doing writing, inking, drawing, inking, whatever, coloring. And I was doing a page in a day, like every day for, like in 4 hours, really. Everything from start to finish. And I was doing that sometimes 5 times a week, and it just. And I was digitally coloring on that, though, because there was no way I was going to be able to do it hand colored. And, I cut corners a lot to make it work, and I see some, like when I look at it, some things that, I wish I wouldn't have done. But, that was I think it was a great accomplishment for myself of how much I did, because I put out, gosh, I think I printed 8 or 9 issues, full, like at least 24 pages, but I think one of them was like 40 something pages. And then I had other issues that were only online, and it does let me do a few more minutes. 3 more minutes I got. We can make this happen, guys. 3 more minutes, and this Venom will be as done as we're going to get it today. Because, like I said, just simple practice drawing. Also, with back to the comics thing, a lot of people work with writers and artists and inkers and colorists and all that. And for me, if I'm not all of those things, I don't really want to do it. It's just like, because it's like I have a problem working with somebody else's vision, or somebody taking my vision and changing it to something else. Is that weird? I don't know, but it's real weird. It's like, I understand it, and I know why it happens. People do it because, it's a time kind of thing, If you're sitting there drawing, then inking, then coloring, that's 3 long processes, usually, for most. And I don't, a lot of people want to do as much as they can, so they do one of the things. and then, you know, while somebody's drawing, you know, the next issue, the inker's working on the first, you know, issue or whatever, you know. And to me, I just feel like my drawing isn't done until I've put the ink on it or colored it or whatever. You know, I can't, because things change for me. Like I'll draw something and it might actually be pretty good, but then I'll put the ink on it and it looks like something different completely, and that's not always a good thing. But it definitely is part of something for me that I have to do, otherwise I don't feel right about it. I could probably give somebody like coloring if I wanted to, give up something. But again, that also, and I'm not the best colorist in the world as far as style, I guess, on that. But I do have a certain view of what colors should be for my stuff, and it's usually like bright, intense kind of stuff. And I don't know if that throws people off too, but I don't know that if I let somebody color my drawing, if I would like the end result or not. I probably would. It just wouldn't be how I would do it, I think, because a lot of times people tend to mute a lot of color with shadow and this and that, and I don't necessarily do all that. I try to, especially when I digitally color, it's basically a very simple process of a flat color, and then I use the same, a lighter, darker version for shadowing. Anyway, that's it. I gotta sign this real quick. And that's how he looks. I think the video's over.